Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some easy white sandwich bread. And it's quite a simple recipe. I'm going to use my Ankarsrum mixer, but you can use any stand mixer, or you can do the entire thing by hand if you want to. Using a mixer just tends to make it easier. So, very straightforward and not too many ingredients, and I'll go on to those ingredients now. And for this I have 480 grams, which is 3 cups plus 3 tablespoons based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of very strong bread flour, white bread flour. And by very strong I mean at least 13% protein. Mine's actually higher than that. Mine's 15% or just under 15% protein. But 13% protein works very well. If you can only get 11% protein, that will work, but not quite so well. But the choice is up to you, basically. And then I also have 38 grams, 5 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of powdered skimmed milk, 300 millilitres, 1¼ cups of lukewarm water. Now, I will say I have a little bit of extra flour ready if I need it, and a little bit more warm water as well if I need it, because flour absorbs water at different rates depending on the humidity in the atmosphere. So sometimes you need a little bit more flour, sometimes you need a little bit more water, but I'll mention that if I have to add any more. I have 7 grams, 2¼ teaspoons of instant yeast, 9 grams, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 28 grams, 2 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter, and 32 millilitres, about 1.5 tablespoons of honey. And that's all the ingredients basically. So we need to get on and make our dough. And to make the dough, I'm going to put my water along with the yeast and the honey into the bowl of my mixer. And I'm going to add in my softened butter as well. Along with the milk powder. And then I'm just going to mix those around to get those combined together basically. And that's good enough, and the butter hasn't completely absorbed, but that will be fine. So then I'm going to put most of my flour in. I'll hold back just a little bit. And onto that I'm going to sprinkle my salt as well. And then I'm going to start to mix that until it comes into a shaggy dough, and I can add the remainder of the flour to achieve that. So that's come together, and I'm going to put the rest of my flour in, and as I mentioned, I have extra water if I need it. And I think that's probably going to be fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to knead that now on a medium speed until the dough becomes smooth, stretchy and quite springy. And as I say, if your dough is looking too wet, you can add a little bit more flour. And if it looks as though it's far too dry, you can add a little bit more water. Do it gradually until you achieve a nice dough that you can work into that smooth ball of dough. So that's my dough kneaded, and I kneaded that for about 8 minutes, and that's good enough. So I'll just show you that, and it's quite smooth, and it's actually quite springy as well, and very elastic. So I'm going to simply put that back into the bowl like that, and I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to leave it to proof for between an hour to an hour and a half until it rises. It might double in size, but it may not quite reach double in size, but it should be quite puffy, and at that stage it will be ready to shape into our loaf. So I will have a 2-pound loaf tin, a 9 by 5 inch loaf tin, greased, ready to take it. So I'll come back when this is ready to shape. So it's been an hour and 20 minutes in fact, but my dough has risen, it has doubled in size, and it's nice and puffy. So I'm going to tip that out onto a work surface like that, and I'm just going to gently press the air out. And I've greased my 2-pound loaf tin, and I'm just going to roll this up into a log which is about 9 inches long, squeezing the edge together. Just like that, and I'm going to put that into my tin. And press it down. And then I'm going to cover that with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to leave it to rise again until it comes up above the top of the tin. So I will grease my plastic wrap so that it doesn't stick, and I want it to rise up by an inch or maybe an inch and a half above the top of the tin. It will be nice and puffy by then as well, and at that stage I will have my oven preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I'll be ready to bake the loaf. But I'll come back to show you it before I put it into the oven. So it's been about 45 minutes and my dough has risen nicely in my loaf tin. So I'm going to put that into the oven and I'm going to bake it for about 35 minutes. I'll bake it until it rises up quite nicely, and the internal temperature should reach about 90 to 91 degrees Celsius, 195 up to 200 Fahrenheit, and that will tell me that the dough is cooked all the way through inside. Then I'll take it out of the oven, take it out of the tin and put it onto a wire rack to cool down, and once it's cooled down I'll come back and show you the results. I baked my easy white sandwich loaf for 35 minutes. I did cover the top for the last 10 minutes with some aluminium foil. I don't think it was necessary, but just in case it was going to brown too much. And then I tested the internal temperature, which was 91 degrees Celsius, so I know that it was cooked through. So I took it out of the oven, put it onto a wire rack, and I've allowed it to cool down. So I have cut it open to show you. So this is what it looks like. And as you can see, it's baked up very nicely. It rose very well indeed. Has a nice texture to it and it's lovely and soft. Now I'm not actually going to taste it at the moment, simply because I'm going to make it, use it for my lunch in about half hour or so. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.